The Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Eels Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, and the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast, the Parramatta Times.
G'day, it's Gus Walland here from Gotcha for Life and Triple M. I'd love to invite you along to the Mental Fitness Gym. Go to the mentalfitnessgym.org. That is a place where you can pick up some exercises to build your mental fitness, to work on that emotional muscle, those muscles in your head that are so powerful. Please come and join us at the mentalfitnessgym.org for all that stuff to build your emotional muscle and your mental fitness.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello, welcome back to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. Troy Warner here, and this is the last game day review for the year for Parramatta-wise anyway, and it was Spoonbowl on Friday night, as we all know, the biggest game of the round. Don't worry about the Newcastle Knights and Dolphins game that to decide who was going to make the top 8. That wasn't the biggest game. Spoonbowl was the biggest game of the weekend, and it was won by the Parramatta Eels, 60 points to 26. A fantastic effort there in their last game. Played in front of 17,311 fans. A sellout at Campbelltown Stadium in Sydney. There was a lot of blue and gold there, which was great to see on the TV screens, and obviously a lot of Tigers fans there as well, with a bit of hope that they wouldn't end up with their third wooden spoon in a row. Unfortunately, that wasn't the way it went. Although the Tigers, they sort of gave it to the Eels in the first couple of minutes and sets, I guess you could say. They were leading 10 points to 6 at one stage, 16 minutes into the game. And that early part of the game, anyway, they were both, I guess, bashing each other and completing their sets. And it looked like it didn't look like it was going to be this massive scoreline that it ended up being in the end. 60 points to 26. It was 11 tries to 5, 8 out of 11 conversions for the Eels, 3 out of 5 conversions for the Tigers. Look at Parramatta, and in terms of Parramatta, doubles to Clint Gutherson, who ended up scoring his 2 tries in the game, but also ended up scoring his 100th try in the NRL. So congratulations to Clint Gutherson. And at the time of recording this podcast, a happy birthday shout out to Gutho as well. Happy birthday. Hope you're having a cracker of a day on your Mad Monday, I guess you could say, although the boys did go to the races the next day. I'm sure they had a great day there. But the official Mad Monday, I guess you could say, is today. And so happy birthday, Clint Gutherson. Will Penasini also got a double. Micah Sevo got a double. And look, RCG, he got a try and a goal. Now, was that his last game in Parramatta Eels colours? A lot of people are saying yes. Look, there was a bit of hijinks and antics, I guess you could say, when Parramatta were running out. Clint Gutherson was pushing RCG to run out first, and it looked like all a bit of fun and the like. And then RCG got his try, and then late in the game, the second last try of the game, Joey Lussick scored, and I think Gutho went to line it up, but then he said, RCG, come here, mate, you're kicking it. So RCG kicked a goal, 1 out of 1, 100% goal kicking record for this game. So well done, RCG. And as I said before, a lot of comments about whether that was RCG's last game. Look, there are a lot of rumours going around that he has signed with the Dragons, and he will be at the Dragons in 2025. Nothing official yet from either party, but who knows? There is a lot of conversation going around. A lot of people in the game are saying that he is with the Dragons in 2025. So potentially that's why Gutho was pushing him to run out first, I should say, and also for that goal kick as well. So as we do see in the last round of the competition, a lot of players who are leaving clubs, they take a goal kick after their team scores a try in a game. We saw it in the Rabbitohs and Roosters game with Tom Burgess. He scored a try and converted his own try. He nearly shanked it, to be honest, and nearly missed it. It was right in front. But we do see that in last games for clubs in different at different times, different clubs, different players in the last round of the regular season. We see those players take these kick at goals. So, look, watch this space. I will let you know if RCG goes to the Dragons, but it does look like he will be. Look, Api Coruscant, he got sin-binned in the game for a dangerous tackle on Clint Gutherson, and look, it looked pretty bad. I actually thought it was, potentially a send-off, I thought, but he got 10 in the bin at the 51st minute. Now, it looks like he's going to get a 3-week suspension from that, and the question of the day that I put up on Instagram yesterday, so please comment on that one if you would like to. But the question I put up, should a NRL suspension impact rep footy? And by that I mean this 3-week suspension that Api Coruscant is going to have to serve, that's going to impact Fiji in the upcoming Pacific Championships. Now, my thoughts on this one is, look, it happened in the NRL. Why doesn't the suspension carry over to NRL? So he would have to serve that suspension the first 3 weeks for the Tigers in 2025. Now, look, that'll create a massive debate because Tigers fans will say, well, he's eligible for Fiji. We need him at the Tigers. But this tackle did happen in NRL, and the suspension was from NRL. We're trying to grow the international game. We want to see the lower tier nations competitive, and Api Coruscant, he's one of the crucial players for the Fijian side. So why should it impact Fiji in the Pacific Championships? I think that the suspension should be rounds 1, 2 and 3 of the NRL. Look, I don't even think it should impact. I don't think it should impact trial games. I think even if you're suspended, you should be able to play in trial games. But I think it should be just competition games that you miss, because it happened in the NRL, not in rep footy. I guess also too, if you cop a suspension in rep footy, then it shouldn't harm your club. Potentially there's a way that if you get suspended through international football or state of origin, then you miss maybe one state of origin game, or you miss one test match. It just depends on the offence, I guess, but should rep footy suspensions be served in rep footy and club suspensions be served in club footy? But anyway, that's on the question of the day on Instagram and Facebook, so check that out on the pages and make your comments known, and I'll do a podcast about that. As I mentioned before, the Tigers were winning early, 16 minutes into the game, 10-6, but that was the last of their scoring in the first half, as it was 22-10 at half time. And look, you thought that if the Tigers could get back into the game after half time, at 22-10 and potentially make it 22-16. We all know what Parramatta can do in second halves throughout 2024. The Dolphins game up in Darwin springs to mind. The Panthers a few weeks ago now at Campbelltown Stadium, 3 tries in 6 minutes and Parramatta lose the game. Those two definitely spring to mind. But you thought maybe if the Tigers could get back to 22-16, then they could make a real game of it. But right after half-time, a coach killer, poor Benji Marshall, Will Penasini scores after a Bryce Cartwright intercept. So he intercepted the ball, runs away, didn't think he was going to be fast enough, had the faster man on his outside, just passed it to Will Penasini, who scored. So, look, that was probably not what the Tigers wanted right after half-time. The Tigers scored in the 48th with 48 minutes gone. It got back to 26-16. So you thought potentially then maybe they're on the comeback trail, but then two tries in 3 minutes to Parramatta. Cartwright and Sevo scored the tries. It just really broke the game away and gave Parramatta a 20-point lead in the game. And you thought then that potentially there's no chance of Parramatta losing this game at all. Gutho, 2 tries in 3 minutes. The first, that was nothing really happening there. He just ran straight through the middle of the Tigers and scored underneath the posts. But the second one was even more bizarre. Alex Seyfarth from the Tigers gets driven back in a tackle into the in goal, and I'm not too sure if he was trying to pass it to Heath Mason, I think it was, or if the ball came loose, but it just ended up in Gutho's arms, and he just put the ball down for his second try, and that made it 48 points to 16 after the conversion. And you thought then, surely Parramatta can't lose a game from here, which they obviously didn't. The Tigers only went on to score 2 more tries to Isaiah Papali'i and Charlie Staines right on full time. Look, as I said, RCG, he scored a try. There was a bit of a hit and spin at the line, and he scored the try, and his conversion from the Joey Lussick try, there was a great kick, RCG. And as I mentioned before, if you are going to the Dragons, thank you very much for your service at the Parramatta Eels. Really loved you having here, and certainly this year, middle to late this season, you certainly have been playing some great footy. That big mo of yours will be missed, and wish you all your best in the future. But as I said, nothing confirmed, nothing official from either party at the moment. So Parramatta, they went on to win the game 60 points to 26. I think their highest score they've scored this year in the NRL. They scored 44 last week against the Dragons, but they haven't even had 50 put up against them, or 60 definitely. So the highest score they had put up against them this season was 48, I do believe, by the Melbourne Storm, and that was a magic round up there in Brisbane. And then the Monday after that one, we all know what happened there. Brad Arthur got sacked from the Eels, so 48 points was the highest score they had scored against them, 41 against the Raiders down there in Canberra, but 60 points, a great effort there, 104 points scored in 2 weeks. And look, a lot of people do say, where was that all season? But I guess we all knew what happened in Parramatta's season, and look, Parramatta, they did not want to win the wooden spoon this year, so they went into the game with intent to win, and they certainly played as a team and got the win. They had a bit of fun as well during the game. The concerning part of during the game was the fact that Brad Arthur, what am I talking about? Dylan Brown, that was probably the most concerning one there. We all held our breath when we saw him down and out, and also when he went off the field with his potential ACL damage, ACL tear. We all thought that it was really, really bad, and we thought that it would potentially impact for 9 months or so, like we have seen Sam Walker's and Brandon Smith's at the Roosters. Fortunately, though, the next day Dylan went for scans and the tear wasn't as bad as first thought. Now, according to the NRL physio on Instagram, it is a partial tear, no need for surgery, should be right for 2025 kickoff. But still not out of the woods, though. This is the concerning part, I think, anyway. Will we see the same Dylan Brown in 2025? We all know he has a cracking stepping game, a running game as well. Will that play on his mind, though, when playing in 2025? I hope it doesn't, and I hope Dylan just goes out and plays his game and whatever happens, but I'm sure that it will be in the back of his mind. We did see a couple of seasons ago, Micah Sevo suffer that knee injury, and he never seemed to look like the best that he was in 2019, potentially with in his mind, I don't want to re-injure this knee. So maybe that's not the case at all. Maybe it was just his form, but I dare say it probably would have been in the back of his mind. We did see a few years ago RCG when he suffered those couple of broken jaws. I do believe that he was a little bit wary of that as well, coming into when he was running the ball. He used to, I guess, turn his back into the defence. That could have been in his mind. It might not have, but I guess with players who suffer these sort of injuries, I guess it just has to be in the back of their mind somewhere that they don't want to suffer these injuries again. Look, as I said, less damage to Dylan's ACL as first thought. Should be right for 2025 kickoff. Look, the Eels will come up with a rehab plan for the off season just to get that one right. But look, we have seen 3 players in particular, and this came off the NRL Physio's page on Instagram. We have seen 3 players, Sam Walker, Matt Lodge and Adam Dewey, have partial tears of ACLs which have led to full tears. Now, Sam Walker, it took 15 months from his partial tear to his full tear of his ACL. Matt Lodge, 3.5 years, and Adam Dewey 8 months. So that's what I'm talking about. Will it be in the back of Dylan Brown's mind about the way he plays, or will he just go out and just play footy like he has as well? So look, it's great news that is not a full tear of his ACL, but still a partial tear, and it'll be interesting to see how he goes next year. We wish him all the best in his recovery in this off-season, and let's hope we get him right for 2025. The other one was Will Penasini as well, a potential MCL injury. I haven't seen anything confirmed as of yet, but he also went off the field as well. And the amazing one is Clint Gutherson. It came out after the game that Guther, I think it was in the press conference, I think Trent Barrett mentioned it in the press conference about the man sitting next to him, that Clint Gutherson was playing the last 3 weeks with 3 broken ribs and a torn quad. So, look, kudos to Clint Gutherson for doing that. That just means how much playing football means to Clint Gutherson, and also how much it means to him to try and help his team get a win and get off the bottom of the ladder. That must have been so painful to play with. 3 broken ribs. Obviously, he would have been injected, painkilling injections, and that torn quad as well. Absolutely amazing, and it just shows you the warrior that he is on the field, and he's a competitor. He just wants to get out there and win games of football. Obviously not this season or last, but hopefully next season we see him. He will go out there to play to win a premiership, because that's what he is. He's a competitor. He wants to win. And to play with 3 broken ribs and a torn quad for the last 3 weeks, that is an absolutely amazing effort. And look, if it was any other player, I think they probably would have sat out those 3 weeks, to be honest. I can't confirm that, obviously, but Gutho, he is just a competitor, and it looks like he will probably go on to win the Ken Thornett medal a little bit later on in the year. And it just shows you that he is a consistent player. And look, we expect him to be one of the best players every single week. We just expect that from Clint Gutherson. We just need the rest of the team to get up to his level, I guess you could say. Get up to his level of competitiveness, and the results might be different. Look, turning to the stats of the game, the team stats, first of all, and the Eels had 54% of the possession, 26 minutes in total. The Tigers 46% and 22 minutes in total in possession. Completion rates, 76% for the Parramatta Eels, 32 out of 42 sets. The Tigers, 63%, 26 out of 41 sets. And you just cannot win football games with a completion rate of 63%. Needs to be up around that high 70s, low 80s, mid 80s, definitely, to win. You need the ball to win football games. Offloads, we all know Parramatta are pretty good at offloads. I think Kelma Tuolagi had 5 during the game, which we all know Parramatta's game is based around offloads. He was certainly contributing to that. Parramatta had 17 in total, and the Tigers had 10. Line breaks, 9 to the Eels, 5 to the Tigers. Missed tackles, Parramatta 37, the Tigers 35, and you could probably understand missed tackles. Well, it was almost like a little bit of a touch football game at times, because of the points that were scored, and the ease of some of the tries that was scored. So 37 and 35. So Parramatta even won that one, if you could say that, in missed tackles. But look, that's the team stats. For the player stats, and I'll get to my player of the match. Look, run meters, Will Penasini, 2 tries, 12 runs, 203 metres. He was pretty good before he had to go off with that knee injury. Blaze Talangi, who was playing his last game for the Parramatta Eels before going over to the Penrith Panthers. He had a pretty solid game. 16 runs, 146 metres. That man that I just spoke about before, Kelma Tuolagi, 19 runs, 200 metres. Joe Offahengawi, who has been pretty solid the last few weeks, 17 runs, 167 metres. RCG scored that try, kicked that goal, 15 runs, 138 metres, and he also topped the tackle count with 35 as well. So a huge game from RCG. When we are talking about tackles, RCG 35, Brendan Hands 32, Joe Offahengawi 23, Luca Moretti, who came off the bench, played a pretty solid game. 23 tackles, Bryce Cartwright 22 and Sean Lane 21. Now, look, when it comes to the player of the match, look, plenty of people said Sevo, RCG, Gutho, Will Penasini, and rightly so. Those players led the stats, the player stats, and scored tries, obviously. But look, in my opinion, I just think it was a real team effort. So I couldn't give a Parramatta player of the match. I just think it was a real team effort. I think everyone contributed in their own way, be it tackling, be it running, be it offloading, be it scoring points, being try assists, whatever. But I just think it was a real team effort, and it had to be to score 60 points. It has to be a real team effort to score that amount of points. But yeah, so I'm not giving a player of the match, so to speak. I am giving the player of the match to the team, the 1 through 17. As I said, I just think they really contributed all to this victory. Off of Hickey Ogden, he was strong again in his first little stint there. Dejan Arce as well, playing halfback. 8 out of 11 conversions, scored a try. We've talked about Will Penasini. Sean Russell was okay. He contributed as well. There was a point there where he made a really good run off a kick, I think it was, kick return. Clint Gutherson, well, we just expect that every week from him. Micah Sevo scored another double. Sean Lane, he was pretty solid. Didn't make any mistakes that I knew of. Joe Ofahengawi, as I said, he stepped up the last couple of weeks as well, and really consolidating himself into this starting lineup. And I think you'll find even next year he may be in this starting lineup somewhere. Although he is playing a good role off the bench when he has played that, but he's really making a way for a starting spot next year in this Parramatta Eels team. So, look, I think it was a real team effort from Parramatta, so I will give the player of the match to the whole team. Let me know who your player of the match was from an Eels perspective, but that's who I'm giving it to. Look, that is the Parramatta Eels season done and dusted in the men's side of the NRL competition, the rugby league, I guess you could say, the NRL. They have finished in 15th spot with 7 wins, 17 losses, 3 byes, for 561 points against 716, minus 155 is the difference. So, pretty disappointing season for the Parramatta Eels. Look, there was injuries, there was suspensions, there was the sacking of a coach midway through the year. So there's been off-field, on-field dramas. I may even next week or the week after just wait till the dust settles and go through a bit of a season review for the Parramatta Eels. But unfortunately, 15th is where they finished. They managed to jump above the Rabbitohs with that huge points difference win on the weekend. So that was good to see. Not just finishing 16th, they actually finished in 15th. But still a disappointing year for the Eels. But a great way to finish it off with 2 good wins against the Dragons and the Tigers. And look, you're only as good as your last game, aren't you? New coach coming in 2025. New player in Zach Lomax, and also Isaiah Iongi from Panthers as well. So a couple of new players coming to Parramatta, so it may be a little bit different next year. Hopefully Mitchell Moses and Jermaine Hopgood, they'll be back as well. So a couple of players coming back from injury, Junior Paolo as well. And look, it could be a fresh new start for Parramatta next year in 2025. But I'll do a season review next week or the week after. Just wait for all the dust to settle. In the meantime, thank you very much for listening to this game day review, the Spoonbowl review. Unfortunately for you Tigers fans, that's 3 in a row for you. You've gone the three-peat. Look, chin up Tigers fans, you are getting some players next season, and look, these young players at the Tigers, they would have got experience this year, so I don't think you'll finish last next year. I don't know who will finish last, but I don't think it'll be the Tigers next year. You got some experience coming, you got some premiership winners coming, Taruva and Jerome Luai, Royce Hunt as well going to the Tigers, Jack Bird as well. So look, you are building slowly, and as I said, you will the young guys would have had experience this season, and I don't think you'll finish last. Lockie Galvin, he was probably the Tigers player on Friday night in Spoonbowl, player of the match for the Tigers, I think, threw an absolute cracker of a ball out to the winger, who scored, absolute cracker. So he's got a big future in Tigers colours. Thank you very much for listening to this game day review. I really appreciate it. Look, there will be plenty coming up on the Parramatta podcast, so stay tuned for that. Give the Instagram page a follow. Give the Facebook page a follow as well. If you enjoyed this, please share it with your family and friends. I'd really, really appreciate that one. That is the last game day review for the Parramatta Eels NRL side. I will be covering the NRLW. I'll be doing a weekly wrap of that one each and every week as well. So stay tuned for that one in the NRLW. And hopefully the Parramatta Eels NRLW team can make the finals in 2024. Thank you very much for listening. Enjoy your footy. Enjoy your final series. If you are a supporter of another team and your team has made it, congratulations to the top 8. Enjoy it, and I will catch you next time on the Parramatta podcast. Go Para!
Hello, Paracave podcast listeners. My name is Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty and long-term sponsor of the Paracave podcast. If you're looking to sell your property or buy, or just curious to know what your property is worth in today's market, give me a call today on 0421 588 445.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Parramatta Podcast. See you next time.